Hi, this is Marcus, and welcome to my video on DxO PhotoLab 9. I'm going to be showcasing some of the new features that DxO PhotoLab 9 has released. But instead of just showcasing just those features, I'm going to show you how the application works in its totality as far as with my workflow and how it works with the other applications from DxO to include FilmPack, Viewpoint, and Nick collections. I don't think I can do this application justice for the new people that are looking at this video and considering whether or not they want to go to it or use it if they've never used it before just by showing you new features. I need to show you how the application works, what's the workflow. I believe that I've developed a workflow within DxO PhotoLab which is really good. I've been using DxO for over 10 years. All of my purchases of DxO have come out of my pocket. I do have coupon codes that will be in the description of this video where you can purchase the application at a discounted price, but my actual upgrade to DxO PhotoLab I actually purchased. My policy is that I will not do a video on a software that I do not own and I've never used within my photography business. With that stated, let's go ahead and get started, and I hope this video is very informative. One of the great things that they have introduced into DxO PhotoLab 9 is the ability to have stacking. What stacking allows you to do is be able to create different organizational groups. So let's say, for instance, I want to stack all of these photos here together. I would just click here and hold down my shift key, go all the way across, and then once I select those photos, I will just right click and then go down here and say stack, create a stack. And when I create that stack, you'll see that it shows me the stack of the photo. And when I click on this, it goes ahead and shows me all of the photos that have been stacked together. If I go ahead and click it back, it will close. If I right click, I can go back down to the stack. And I can tell it to remove the stack. And when I remove it, now all the photos are back. Another thing that they have in here is that here you got your projects. Normally you'd have to come out to your photo library to access your projects. But now you can access your projects under the Customize button. If we go to Customize, you don't see any palette here that would allow you to be able to get to your projects. I could open one of these palettes here and go directly into one of them and just go down here and say, I want to add my projects to this, and it would actually add it in here. But if you want to have some organization and have it on its own palette, you can actually go ahead and create that. So I could just grab this here and take it away. We're going to go under palette, and I am going to say I want to create a new palette. I'm going to call this palette projects. And then I'm going to drag this palette right over here and stack it right below the other one. And then inside of here, I am going to go all the way down and I'm going to select projects. And now my projects are here in the same customize window, and any photos that I add to this project, I would be able to use. So let's just go back to the photo library, and let's say I'm going to go ahead and do a filter. I'm going to filter on just raw files, and I'm going to get all the raw files that are number 3s. And so with that, I'm going to highlight all of these raw files that are number 3s, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add them to my current project. You can see I only have one. I can create a project if I don't have any, and it will let me take the current selections, but I've already created one, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to that project. Now, if I go ahead and let's say we reset this filter, if I go inside of Customize, I can say, let's go into my projects, click here, and now all it shows me is just the photos within my project. Let's go ahead and get started. Here inside of DxO PhotoLab 9, I'm going to be editing this photo here. Now, what I'm going to do is I've developed a certain workflow. I believe that this is the best workflow that you can use with DxO 9, and it reduces the amount of time that you have to go back and redo something. So with that stated, let's go ahead and get started. And as I'm using each of these modules, I will point out the new features which were released for this version of DxO PhotoLab 9. in geometry, and we're going to go ahead and fix any lenses issues. We're going to fix any chromatic aberration, purple fringing, and vignetting. And we can go and see if there's any perspective issues, which I can look on the screen and see that there's not, but I can enable that if I wanted to. And if I go ahead and do a auto crop, that would crop it in as well. If I take that back off, you can see how it's doing it. Let's go ahead and do the perspective on this. So now we have a photo that is totally been corrected and all of the geometries have been done. And when we go into color, what you want to make sure is that you're using the DxO wide gamut. If from your previous version you was using the legacy, you will notice that when you switch to DxO wide gamut, that your colors change because the color palette is much bigger. And so you have more different shades of variations of colors. Then we'll go to white balance. My white balance will stay as shot, but I'm going to go ahead and enable that just in case if I wanted to move this around, I could, but I think my white balance is perfect. But you can click here, go into white balance and click that and see what you get. I like what I had before, so we're just going to go back and go to as shot. Then we're going to go into rendering. Now when I render here, it's going to automatically pull whatever profile of the camera that it matches up with. I shot this with the Sony a7R II, and so when I go ahead and click this, you'll notice that it pulled that color from that profile. I have the ability to use that and to also go in here and use DxO FilmPack because that's going to be under the color rendering as well. Now, I'm not going to showcase or explain anything about DxO FilmPack 7. That is its own video by itself, but because I have it within my workflow, I'm going to go ahead and use that. And I'm just going to briefly tell you exactly what I'm doing. And then as we get to the newer features, I will tell you what those features are. We go under here. I'm going to choose a negative film. I'm going to go down here and choose a film that I want to use. I'm going to tell it to protect the saturated colors. And then we're going to go ahead. We're not going to use any LUTs. I'm not going to use any style toning, but I will go into here and I will pump up the vibrance, which is going to pump up the muted colors. And if there's any colors that I want to enhance, I'll basically click on, let's say blue. I click blue, I grab this dropper, click on those pans, and then what you'll see is I can actually go and make those blue pans darker and go ahead and saturate them. I can pump up my colors as I need to do it. This is fine the way I got it. I want to go ahead and click on. This looks like this would be more of this color here. I'm going to click here. Go back into the color dropper and click right here. That actually takes me towards the cyan color. And again, I will pull this down this way. You'll see it gets darker and lighter. Pull it down. Slide up the uniformity slider so the colors will actually match all the way across, and then saturate it. So I have my colors the way that I want them to be. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and now we can close the color palette. When we go under light, there's no new features here under light. All the new features are really going to show themselves when we get to denoising and when we get to local adjustments. That's where the new features are going to be, and that's when I'm going to start pointing them out. Here, I'm going to go under exposure. If I want to say I want to protect the highlights or highlight priority, I'll go to medium. You can see that it's not doing anything because if I go to my histogram over here, you'll see that I don't have any issues where the highlights are going to be blown out, nor do I have anything for the shadows as well. So I can just go in here and I can just pull this, and this will switch it to manual. I'll pull that down almost a half a stop. Then I'll go to DxO Smart Lighting, click on here, and that will automatically adjust. And I'm going to tell it that I want to do spot weighted. It did find the face. If I tell it to show it, you'll see that it found the face. Now, if there was something else I wanted to bring out or adjust the lighting, and I do with her hair, I can add additional points. I want to add an additional point with her hair, so it will adjust it. And that seems to work for what I want to do. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit close, and I can actually adjust the intensity, go up higher, or I can take it down. I want to take it down to about maybe 16. That works. Go to selective tone. We're going to bring in a little bit of highlights, you move these very gradually. You don't want to overdo anything. I'm going to go to the black area and I am going to push down the black here. Give some tonality. We're going to lift up a little bit of shadows, and I'm going to take the midtones down a little bit here. I'm satisfied with the way that looks. If I go back here and do a before and after, that's how the photo looks before. This is how it looks after. So we'll just bypass that. We'll go into contrast. I'm going to give it some micro contrast, which is equivalent to clarity. That's going to punch up the midtones. I like what I have here. And then I'm going to go down to tone. I'm going to turn the tone on, go to the luminosity, make sure that I'm on the linear. But that doesn't matter because I'm going to go ahead and choose the tone picker. And in this area here, I want to lift this up just a little bit. And then in this area for the midtones, I want to darken it a little bit here. And that works for what I want. I'm going to go ahead and hit close on that. And now we are done with the lighting. We go to details. And when I turn on denoising, this is where the new features actually come in. We have denoising Deep Prime 3. We have Deep Prime XD, XD2S, and they also have a Deep Prime XD3 for the X-Trans sensor. This is for the Fuji cameras. This will only work with the Fujis. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hit Deep Prime. The reason I'm going to enable that, because if I needed to do any kind of denoising within my local adjustments, that has been added. That is a new feature within the DxO PhotoLab. I'm not going to do any retouching or sharpening unmask. This photo right now, in my opinion, is sharp as what it needs to be. I don't want to over sharpen it. And I don't think any patterns within this clothing is going to cause moire, but I always select it just as a precaution. Now we're going to get where the features are at. When I go here under the local adjustments, there is a new AI selection for local adjustments that we can use. And when we go in here, when I click on adjustments and click this right here for the AI features, here we have a selection where we can add a selection, we can remove a selection, we can add an area, we can remove an area, and then we have here where we can have predefined mask, and this is where our AI comes in. If I go ahead and hit that drop arrow, you'll see that it's subject, you'll see that it's sky, background, people, animals, flowers, hair, face, and clothing. Those are different masking areas that you can get, and it does a really good job. What I want to do is select the background, but I can select an area as well. So that takes up the entire background for that. But what I want to do is we're going to go into this. I'm going to grab this and we're going to select an area. And here within this area, I can just go ahead and click this. And as I draw in this area, you'll see what it's selecting. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to go down to clear view and I want to take out that glare as much as I can. You see how I took the glare out by using that? That's a local adjustment that I'm able to do, and now we can see the things in the windows much, much clearer. And then what I can do is that's just one mask. If I need to add something else to that mask, I can actually click on and add a submask, or I can hold down my shift key and click on something to add it to this mask as well. Those are features that you have that you can do. So let's say, for instance, I don't want to hit this here. I'm going to do the hotkey. I'm going to push down my shift and I'm going to go back to the same area. And then all I'm going to do is just draw this, and this should actually give me a selection based upon what I'm selecting here. So you'll see that it'll get the same parameters that I got for the other one. This becomes part of that mask. It's a sub mask of the same mask. I can go ahead, even though I'm using the AI, the other tools will work as well. I can go ahead and grab the brush. I'm going to click on the brush and I'm going to hold down my shift key again, and I'm just going to go ahead and add another area here by just putting that in there. And you'll see by brushing, I can actually brush that in if I want to. Right? And now that's part of that area. I've overdone it, so all I'm going to do right now is go ahead. I'm going to tell it to show the mask, and I'm just going to hit this right here. And I'm in that mask, and now I can just take it off where I don't want to have it. So you can see how that actually works. It works really good. And so I am going to do another mask. Now I can do a separate mask. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to tell it to select the subject. And now this is going to select her under a different mask. This is mask 2. This has no bearing on the previous settings that I did using the DxO Clearview Plus. And here, what I want to do is I want to lift up the blacks that's on her clothing a little bit. I want to go into contrast and give it a little bit more micro contrast for her. I'm going to actually pull the black back and lift up some. I'm going to pull the black up, and I'm going to pull some shadows back. And that'll give me the shadows and the tone. And I'm going to pull a little bit of highlight back there. So I'm satisfied with how that's turning out. Let me drop this, lift up the black a little bit more, and drop this about right there. I'm satisfied with that. Yes, if I wanted to add any kind of denoising, I could go down to where this is on the subject. I got to select it, and I could go ahead and add more denoising for the subject, and I can even add local lens sharpness within this local and make her a little bit sharper using the lens optimization. So if I go in here 100%, you'll see that I was able to increase the optical sharpness here locally just on the subject, on the mask that I've selected, and that works really good. So you'll see just on that mask, and that's what I actually, so when we select this, you'll see that is exactly what I've added to this and the different adjustments that I've made from here, which works out really good. Then we'll hit close, and we can take those off. Those are the local adjustments that we actually get that we can actually use. We have our U points. Within the U points, there are one thing that they actually added. If I go back into local adjustments, if I go with the U point, what they've added was the ability to create a U point, and I'm going to stretch this out. They've added a diffusion slider here within the U point. So you'll see now that I have a diffusion slider where I can diffuse it a whole lot better if I want to use a U point control. So that works out really well. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I don't need that. The rest of these masks can actually stay. So if we go ahead, we've done all of the local adjustments. I've showed you the image stacking in the film strip, and I've showed you how to refine local adjustments using the vast improved masking system that they have. Those features are really, really cool. I like them to be able to do that. I've also showed you the ability to actually be able to access your projects here within the customizable tab. So all of those things are done. These are some features that they have for Apple ProRAW and for HEIA image formats. They're going to appear here on the screen. So those are the new features that I just showed you. Then we'll go here in FilmPack, and in FilmPack I'm going to go into Filter, and we're going to put a cool tool on this right here. And I'm just going to take this cool tone and drop it down and add a little bit of it there. And then we're going to go into the grain. We're going to close this for the local mask. And I'm going to go into grain, and it's going to use the grain based upon the film that I just used. So it says the current color profile and the current color profile for the film is the grain it's going to use. I'm going to tell it to adjust itself to the size of the crop. And when I did that, you see that it jumped from 10 to 7.9. We're going to go ahead and use some creative vignetting. I'm going to pull this in, and I want to be able to see what it's doing by giving it a very harsh transition. I'm going to pull this right here so I can move it to where I want this to be. Then I'll take the transition back all the way to 0, and then I will take my intensity to about 17, 18, 19 is where I will put that. And now I have my vignetting. I can do blur, and these are DxO FilmPack features. I'm not going to do any of those things. I have just finished this photo. This is what we started with the photo. This is what we ended up with. So DxO PhotoLab has introduced some really nice features is really rock solid, and I look at this as being a major player as a raw editor. With that said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember, I will never do a video on any software or hardware that I do not own or that I have currently owned within my photography business. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button and click the notifications.